I've stood on the shore of every land and watched an intruder discover and claim my homeland. My father taught me to hunt the bison when the berries froze. I pray for their souls, the bison, the berries, my father's, my own. I have never been able, ever, really, to write at home for some reason, very seldom. So I've always favored coffee houses, places where I can feel that, let's just call it the voices. I can hear the voices coming. So it's almost like writing for me. The poem is a gift. It's the process. Hearing the voices, it's that whole current that's just running through you. It's an incredible feeling, and that's the reason I don't write to write a poem. I write to go through that process of being the translator or the conduit, whatever it is, and just allowing that stuff to come through me and onto the page. I walk not only for ecological reasons, but for also philosophical reasons. So it is on those walks that I'm just casually shutting the mind off and casually just observing. I call it passive observation. Observing and just letting, there are images that will stick. And then when I get to a place where I sit down, whether that's out somewhere on a bench or by the water or at a coffee house, that's when I use those images. Most of the time it seems like the poem just writes itself. There was a class assignment in high school to write a poem in class, during class. And I found it, and it was like the last thing. I was a farm kid, you know, it was the last thing I wanted to do was write a poem during a class. But I enjoyed the process. And she had given us some examples, and one of the people that she offered, I've forgotten the others, but E.E. Cummings, and he just stood out in my mind because I'd never seen poetry like that. And I didn't write my poetry like that, but it just opened my mind. And then the other key thing, I really have to say this, it just dawned on me a few years ago. I think the movie Dr. Zhivago is what made me want to be a poet. I just admired, I loved the movie to begin with, and then I wanted to be Yuri Zhivago. This Thursday, November the 3rd, events coming up, Novel Idea Bookstore, the launch. I think the reason I started, and I don't know that I've really thought of it in that way, I started the monthly open mic reading that I do because at the time, as I kind of already mentioned, I didn't see too much of that happening here on a regular basis. And, but even if it was, I didn't think that this would be competitive. I just thought this would be another place, another chance, another opportunity for poets to get together when I started that. But the reason I started it is because I remember it was specifically me going to those things that inspired me and made me want to write, and I set that up just as an opportunity for poets to get together and other people as well to get together, and hopefully for them it would be that catalyst, that thing that inspired them and helped them to keep creating. And, yeah. My name is Bruce. This is Finding a Voice, spoken word program airing here every Friday afternoon from 4 to 6 o'clock. Radio show started now, not quite, but almost 6.5 years ago. Grew out of actually the poetry, the monthly poetry event, because poetry events don't draw stadium-sized crowds as a rule. But I was just blown away when I started that by the talent and quality of the poets in this area, and I'm going, wow, this is incredible. These people need a bigger audience. And it started out as mostly that. I'd bring in some books and read some poetry on air, but then I started recording all of these things going on that built the radio show into what it is now. I think for the last 3 years now it's 2 hours instead of the one that it started out with. I will swear by this until the end of time. I just consider myself the doorman. I have found in this town that there's an appetite for things, and if you just open the door, find a way to open a door, that people just swarm in. Distance. In the middle of the motion, there is a stillness, watching. It is silence. It is the instant before birth. It is death in the distance. It is the air encircling the past, remembering the future, waiting. This stillness, slightly stirring. It is alive. It is more than alive. It is eternal. It is more than eternal, more than a word, yet we do not see it. We, blinded by motion, we caught up in this surface of movement, lost to that rhythm deeper, to that effortless dance, to that endless music flowing, and in the distance there is a single breath. It is almost a sigh. It is almost inaudible. It is almost nothing. It is everything.